child, and I'm a sister, and I'm a mom, and I'm soon going to be a mother-in-law. I am a former corporate executive. I am a non-traditional college graduate. I am an award-winning business owner and an entrepreneur. I'm a monarch butterfly rescuer, and I am a seeker and survivor. So that really is kind of me in a nutshell. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about my seeking journey, and it started back in 1987 with my very first genuine prayer. I was married to my son's dad, and things were not very good in our house, and I was trying to decide, should I stay with him, should I leave him? I'm not quite sure what to do. So I got down on my knees and I asked God that I didn't know if I believed in what I should do. And when I said, I need a lightning bolt, I don't want some wimpy little sign that I could twist around and misconstrue to be anything. I need a lightning bolt that's going to be a really clear indication of what it is I should do. So the next day, my husband and I and my son and my stepdaughter's friend were cruising through Kettle Moraine. My husband is, 20 yards in front of me. He's walking up a hill. He stops, he turns around and looks at me and says, Jesus Christ, I lost my wedding ring. And I put those two phrases together, Jesus Christ, and I lost my wedding ring, and I took that as my lightning bolt sign. I borrowed money from my dad. The following Monday, I filed for divorce, and I never looked back. And it was the right thing to do. My ex-husband is a great man. We just weren't great together, so it was the right thing to do. So in that process, that really is what started my process of becoming a seeker. And I was raised Christian, so I really started poking around in the Christian faith. But I also am curious, so I started looking at Eastern medicine traditions, and I looked at the healing arts to say, well, what is all of that stuff in Eastern traditions? What does that really mean? I looked at Native American culture and started looking at the healing qualities and the healing properties and the teaching tools that are available through Native American culture. I poked around with crystals and essential oils and plants and animal medicine and just really looked around at all of the different modalities that are available and many more that aren't listed here. So that was really kind of my seeking, just had me curious about things. The surviving part, I am a survivor of many things, and I'm going to share this part of my story so you kind of get the foundation of why I became the founder of All About Spirit. And it really starts when I was a little girl. I was born in the 50s, and life is different today than it was in the 50s. There's things that happened back then that today it would be called child abuse. And I get today that that's the way things were in the 50s, but it just is what it is. And my dad and I had a great relationship at the end of his life, and that's reconciled. So that was my life with my dad. Don't you take on his stuff, okay? So that's my request from you. So it started out as a little kid, and I would wrestle with my dad, and I was claustrophobic, so I would freak out. And he would pin me to the floor, and his way of trying to teach me self-control, because I would go ballistic, he would hold me there until I could relax. Well, my way of relaxing was literally to leave my body and to go to the ceiling. Today, at 60 years old, I get that that's a trauma response. I get that that would be classified child abuse. That's not what it was in 1959 or 1960 when we were doing that. So, but I get today that that's what it was. And because I really know in my heart of hearts that spirit is the underlying thing that goes on in all of our lives, and what happens in one part of our life prepares us for the next part, I'm going to take you into the next part of my journey to a time when I was visiting my best friend's cottage. I was 12 years old, and I hope that this isn't offensive to anybody, but it's a huge part of who I am and how I got to be where I am today. So I was 12 years old, it was 1970s, and we were doing what we were doing in the 70s, right? There was drugs and drinking and that kind of stuff. So I'm doing what I'm doing. Well, I'm at this party, and there's a kegger, and we're doing what we're doing, and I ended up, it started out playing a game with a bunch of guys that were there, and it ended up turning from not a game into a gang rape. And I got gang raped that night by 5 of the boys that were at that party. And because I was 12, I knew that that was wrong. I should not be doing that. And I made the keen decision to not tell anybody about that. I kept that as a secret. And secrets are a really big thing in our health, right? They're a really big thing. And so when I made that decision to keep that a secret, that means that I stuffed everything that happened. I stuffed the emotions, I stuffed the anger, I stuffed the fear, I stuffed the rage, and I just held it in my body. So I'm going to fast forward because God has a way of working in our life. He has a way of bringing things together at the right time, at the right place. And I trust that what happens in my life happens in divine order. And this is where that belief or that knowing was born. I was living in an apartment, my son and my neighbors across the hall were kind of heavy partiers, and one night I hear her coming up the stairs, and she is, I can hear her whimpering, and I can hear her bouncing off the walls, and because I am who I am, I peek through the peephole of my door, because I want to see what's going on, and I can see that, her nose was broken, and her arm was dislocated or broken, and her clothes were torn, and I went out into the hallway and said, oh my God, what happened to you? And I finally convinced her to let me call the police. The paramedics got there, so I went back into my apartment. They're on the landing in my hallway, and they're arguing with her. She's drunk and non-compliant. They're getting frustrated. It's escalating, and I'm in my house, and I'm listening to all of this, and I have a history of gang rape that I haven't dealt with yet, right? So that activates my trauma response. I go back out into the hallway, and it's like, you know what, you guys? What you are doing, it clearly isn't working. Let me try. So I got down on the floor with her, and I sat down, and I talked to her, and I finally convinced her to go to the hospital. So we get into the ambulance together, because the only way she's gonna go is if I go with her. So we go down there, they reset her arm, they reset her nose, and then the police say, would you be willing to drive around in the car with us for the rest of the night until we find where this happened, so we can prosecute the people that did this to her. That began my healing journey, because I did for her that night what I needed somebody to do for me, but there wasn't anybody there to do that because I kept it a secret. So that's the way God works in my world. So I am now invested in my spirituality, and I am looking at all of the different ways that spirit works, that God works, that all of this stuff fits together in my life. So I'm cruising along, and I met information by a woman named Louise Hay. And about that time, my dad has a stroke. So I'm playing and dabbling in healing and stuff like that. So I look to see what Louise Hay, who is kind of the grandmother of the mind, body, spirit kind of teachings, I look to see what stroke means. And it means I would rather die than change. And when I heard that, it's like, oh my God, my dad smoked Tarleton cigarettes for his whole life. I would rather fight than switch, for those of you who are old enough to remember Tarletons, right? That was the embodiment of who he was as he walked through his world. Well, this became really, really important to me, because now I have somebody who I'm really invested in. I'm looking around and saying, dude, how did you get here? How did this happen? What went on? So I'm studying this more and more. So we cruise along to 2007, and now I'm in my dad is dead. I was his primary caregiver at the end of his life, and I work through that process with him, and I go back to school because I want to help people. I don't want people to suffer the way he suffered. So I go back to school. I'm in my third year in nursing school, and I got diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer. And that was a shock to me. Nobody in my family had ever had cancer. I was pretty sure they looked at the wrong results, and it's like, whoa, how did that happen? So I go to Louise Hay to find out, what is ovarian cancer? What is cancer? Cancer is hardened bits of anger, deep secrets, hatred, and long-standing resentments. So when I looked at the emotional patterns that are attached to cancer, and I heard that, it's like, oh my God, it makes perfect sense to me that I would get cancer in that part of my body, because that is the biggest wound of my life, and I have all of those things. So that starts the journey. Like, this is no longer fun to dabble in. I'm now saving my life, because 30% chance to survive the first year. I got a kid who's needing his mom. I'm not ready to be done on the planet. So now I'm on this quest. I'm looking for health. I'm looking for nutrition. I'm looking for anything that I can do to make myself okay. So this is the why of it. So this is my third year of college. This is a self-portrait that I did. This is what it felt like for me to have ovarian cancer. I was powerless, completely powerless. And death is always looming right behind my shoulders. So why I do this, the treatment part of my journey was really easy. That part, they tell you where to go, they tell you what to do, they tell you what to eat, they tell you what to wear, they tell you when to be there, blah, 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 blah. It's the surviving part that was really brutal. That was the piece. It's like, there's no instruction manual on how to step out of your life past that part. So that moves me into the second part of this, and we're gonna start talking a little bit about energy. And energy, everything in the world is energy. It is neither created, nor is it destroyed. It just changes forms. And if you think about it in a most basic form, think about photosynthesis, right? The sunlight from the energy from the sun comes down into a plant, it does its voodoo magic, and all of a sudden it gets recreated into this beautiful flourishing plant which emits oxygen, which keeps the whole cycle going, right? We know that this table isn't really a solid table, right? It's just energy moving around. So we can agree on that?
Yes.
Is that safe agreement? Cool. Okay, so along with that energy, part of that energy is the universal laws of spirit. And we have universal laws that we don't question. The law of gravity, which on planet Earth is strictly enforced, right? If you drop something, it's going to hit the ground. That's just the way it is. Gravity is one of those universal laws. We don't question that here. Energy is everything, and it's really good as a basis for the rest of this conversation to agree that energy is everything, and we just need to not question that either. So, the universal laws of spirit function in our lives whether we believe in them or not. They're not like unicorns. If you think of gravity, 2.99 billion meters per second if you drop something on the floor. If you think of light, in our atmosphere, it travels at 1.86 million miles per second. So that's the speed of light, right? We don't question that. That's just the reality. So we're going to enter into these universal laws of spirit with that same knowing. So there are 9 universal laws that I talk about on a regular basis. I'm going to touch on all 9 of them, but I'm really going to talk about the first 3, which is the law of attraction, the law of deliberate creation, and the law of allowing. Those are the 3 that are, I don't have enough time. I do an 18-week program to teach these, so I'm certainly not going to do it tonight. Okay. I'm going to give you like the Reader's Digest condensed version.
We don't do 6 hours.
You could be here for a lot more than that. So we're going to start with the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is the law that says what we think we become, right? The Bible talks about it. It talks about it in the context of, as a man thinketh, so is he. Sometimes when we hear about the law of attraction, we think, oh, this is some get rich quick scheme. That's not what it is. It's a universal law that says what I put out into the universe is going to come back to me. The Buddha talks about it, and he says, all that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world. So our thoughts are the precursor to what we're going to draw into our experience. The Kabbalah says 3 are the dwellings of the sons and daughters of man: thought, feeling, and body. So this is where they all come together. It's like this, these aren't separate little entities, right? So the law of attraction says all of this stuff is going on. We sometimes talk about it in the context of birds of a feather flock together. We see it in synchronicity or serendipity, right? You're thinking about a friend and all of a sudden you pick up their phone and they're on the phone, right? They're calling you and it's like, how did that happen? That's the law of attraction in action. Sometimes people refer to it as fate. Sometimes they talk about it as karma. So when we think about the law of attraction, all things that are seen and unseen, when we break them down to their most basic form, they're nothing more than energy. Our thoughts are energy, right? It's all energy. Our thoughts are a vibration. It looks for a matching vibration in the universe, and that's how things attract. And there's quantum physics talks about, it takes 17 seconds to activate a thought. It takes another 17 seconds to find a matching thought someplace in the universe, and they can teach lots of stuff about that. So if we can start too with the premise that says everything in our world begins with a thought. The chair that you're sitting on, the pants that you're wearing, the style of your hair, the coats that we have on. Everything began in somebody's mind as a thought, and then it eventually becomes physical manifestation. And our thoughts are the things that become the seeds for our future. So the next law that we're going to talk about is the law of deliberate creation. If I have thoughts, and I have thoughts that run automatically that I don't even give any attention to, there's also a law called the law of deliberate creation. So why couldn't I take and deliberately start moving my thoughts into the direction that I want? Why can't I start deliberately sending my ideas and my thoughts in specific directions, rather than creating by default, which is what happens for most of us? We just go, walking through our lives, playing the tapes. My mom hated me. I was born a girl instead of a boy. I'm too fat. I'm too short. I'm too thin. I'm too this. Right? Those are the thoughts that we just keep playing over and over again. What if we created deliberately? What if we took the time? What if somebody could show us how to unpack that stuff, to say, what's the truth and what's the fantasy and what served us when we were a kid that no longer serves us today, and how do we unpack that stuff? The next law that I want to talk about is the law of allowing. And when we look at this law, we really can say that there's two ways to use the law of allowing. The first way is to say, we allow other people to be who they are. You have the right to have the dignity of your own experience. You get to make the decisions you want to make. You get to make your choices. Your husband, your daughter, your son, everybody gets to have the right to have their own experience. That's one version of the law of allowing. The other version of the law of allowing is getting out of our own way. It's saying, can I allow somebody to offer me kindness and let that into my space? Can I allow the divine, the universe, God, whatever it is, to bestow me with things that God wants me to be doing? Can I align my will with God's will and then allow myself to be navigated through life that way? So that is the third really big law of a law that works, that I talk about. So the next one is the law of sufficiency and abundance. That law says you have everything you need. Everything you need, it's already available for you. Your body knows what to do on its own. It is already there, innately knows what to do. We have the law of pure potentiality, which says everything between me and the next thing that I'm going to bump into in space, that is pregnant with potential. Everything that exists in the universe exists in that space, and somebody gets to tap into it. It's like tapping into a radio station. If you want to listen to country music, you're not going to turn on hard rock, right? So this is about saying, how do I pay attention to this stuff? Okay, yeah, I already said that. So then there's the law of detachment, and that says, how do I say that I want something, but then let go of the outcome? And that was really a big law for me to learn, right? I didn't want to be done on the planet. That's the truth. When I finally got the law of detachment, for me, what that looked like was, you know what? If you are alive, I don't care who you are, at someday you're not going to be. That's the truth. So can I just be one among many and say that's the truth for me too, and I don't have to project the fact that they told me I only have a 30% chance of living for the rest of the year. I can detach from that outcome and say, I'm here now. I may have things going on that aren't working right, but there's a whole bunch of other things that are working just fine. So can I pay attention to that instead? Mm-hmm. Then we have the law of polarity. That says for every front there's a back, for every up there's a down, for every positive there's a negative. And the trick to all of this is, how do I shut my mind off? How do I disengage from the idea that my mind is racing and I can't stop thinking about what my mom told me when I was 12, or what how my parents told me this, or my husband told me that? How do I disengage from that? It's easier said than done. And then we have the law of reflection. And this is the law that says what's going on in your life is a reflection of your thoughts, whether you know it, whether you believe it or not. It's a reflection. So when you see something that you really, really love about somebody, that's a reflection of what's going on inside of you. That's a mirror image of you, of some aspect of yourself. The harder part is when you see something that you don't like in somebody and you have a reaction to it. That too is a reflection of some part of you, whether you acknowledge it, whether you can own it or not, right? So there's the law of reflection is a great tool as you walk through life to say, where are my thoughts today? What am I thinking about today? So that's going to move us through to kind of the energy part of emotional patterns and what that means. So the cells in our body react to everything that we think. And Louise Hay, who I told you is kind of the godmother of the metaphysical movement, she talked about cancer as being deep hurt. She talked about it as long-standing resentments, deep secret or grief eating away at the self, and carrying hatreds. I can clearly say that I owned all of those without ever knowing it, without ever acknowledging it. So that stuff is whipping around in my body and it's activated in my cells, and I have no idea how to disengage from it because I can't even acknowledge that it happened. I didn't tell anybody about that until I was 36 years old. That's 24 years of a really big secret.
Yeah.
So, on to more energy, right? Our body has this amazing energy system within itself, and it is the life force energy. It's what animates us. It's the difference between the moment we're breathing and the moment we're not. It's that energy system. There are aspects of color that are associated with it. There's aspects of shape that's associated with it. There are emotions that are associated with the system, and there's sounds that are associated with this system. And there are so many ways that you can tap in and you can heal. There's tons of information, and I'm happy to share that with you, with anybody that wants to have a conversation about that. This is the chakra system, and each chakra is associated with different organs. Each color is associated with different organs. And to get us to the health part of this conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about those chakras, but we're also going to talk about the mind, the spirit, and the body together. So when we think of the color red, that's the root chakra, that's survival, that's the part that says, man, am I living or am I not living, right? In the mind, when you think about red, right, that's war, that's danger, that's strength, that's power, it's determination, it's love, it's desire. Those are the things that go on in your head with the color red. Spirit says that it's your sexuality, it's survival, it's safety, it's grounding, it's the here and now. When we look at the body part of it, that's circulation, that's your kidneys, that's your heart, that's blood, that's your lungs, that's your bones. That's the fundamental things that are required for you to be an animated, living, breathing person on the planet. When we go to the next chakra up, which is orange, it's orange, that's the color associated with it. The mind says that's enthusiasm, it's fascination, it's happiness, it's creativity, it's success. When we go look at the spirit part of this, that's intimacy. So when you get that gut feeling about something, right, that's that place where you get that hit that says, ooh, I really like this person, or ooh, I really don't like this person, right? That's that spot in your body. It's awareness, it's emotions, it's your appetite. If you struggle with eating disorders, it lives in that part of your body. Your immunity is a part of that portion. So depression is often found in this chakra. Cramps, leg problems, genital problems, endocrine system, it's all part of that part of the body system. When you look at the yellow, the color yellow, or the yellow chakra, the mind that's associated with that is joy, it's happiness, it's intellect, it's energy, it's warming, it's cheerful, it's inviting. The spirit part is clear thinking, it's learning, it's confidence, it's power, it's being able to stand who in yourself is who and what you are, and being able to own that, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever that is. And in your body, that's your digestive system. That's your stomach, it's your gallbladder, it's your liver, it's your immune system, it's your nervous system. It lives in that part of your body. And if you have trapped energy in there, if you have problems in that part of your body system, there's probably an emotional pattern attached to that somewhere. And you can poke around. If you just do what Western medicine says, you're not going to solve your problem, most likely. If you just do what Eastern medicine says, there's a good chance that you're not going to solve your problem that way either, right? It takes all of it to put it together. So green in the mind part, that's growth. That's harmony, that's your heart chakra, right? That's freshness, that's fertility, that's safety, it's healing, and it's rest. So when you hear people talking about being green with jealousy, right? That's the heart. That's where those things come from. When you start to study this stuff, it's like it all fits together, right? So spiritually, that's balance. It's love. It's the capacity to be empathetic with other people. It's clear thinking. It's loss. When you look at the body of the heart chakra, right? You think about your heart and all the places it pumps energy to, right? The liver. It has to do with swelling and inflammation. It has to do with your eyes, your bronchioles, gout, diabetes, cysts, tumors, pituitary problems, joints, allergies. All of that stuff is impacted by the heart chakra. None of these systems work independently from each other. Our chakra systems are really like a system of gears where the life force energy literally travels up them. The gears spin in different directions, and if they get stuck, you have to be able to get that energy moving. And there's a whole process of ways to do that. The blue chakra is your throat. That's where trust and loyalty and wisdom and confidence and intelligence and faith and fun comes from. Spirit talks about communication and self-expression and healing in the throat chakra. So when you're in that place where you have a scratchy throat, right? If you look around your life, one of the great questions to ask is, wow, do I have something that I need to be saying to somebody that I'm not? And if you look around your life, the likelihood is there probably is. The body, that has to do with headaches and sleep and pain and nerves and insomnia and high blood pressure. When you look at indigo, that's the third eye, that's your intuition state, right? That's stability and power and nobility and luxury and ambition. Spiritually, it's your inner mind. It's your intuition. It's that little voice that talks to you. It's comprehension. It's the Akashic Records, which is the stored energy of all of your history that says everything that's gone on in your life, the energy is stored somewhere. It's stored in your Akashic Records. And in the body, that's inner vision. That's your sixth sense. That's wisdom. So many times as we walk through our lives, we ignore our sixth sense. We don't pay attention. And actually, I have a story about that. When I was going for a bike ride, and I was standing at the top of a hill. I had my mountain bike. I was standing at the top of the hill. I looked down the hill, and I heard this little voice in my head that said, ooh, if you ride down that hill, you're gonna fall. And I thought, ah. So I got on my bike, I rode down the hill, and I happened to be carrying this great big ball of onyx, like a 55 millimeter sphere. I had it in my pocket. I rode down that hill, I hit the bottom of that hill, and I fell, and that stone was in my pocket, and I ended up with a bruise that went from my knee to just below my armpit. I could barely walk. It was the biggest hematoma I had ever seen in my life. When I hit the ground, the next thought that went through my head was, thoughts are things. And that's where that became integrated in my life. I can promise you it is a lesson I have never forgotten. So that's, the little voice when you ignore it says, oh, maybe you don't want to eat that tonight because you're not feeling so good. Maybe you don't want to do that, right? That's the indigo, that's the intuition mind. And then there's violet. Violet is dignity and it's mystery. That's the color of spirit. That's where the divine actually comes and talks to you. It's spiritual growth, it's self-realization, it's artistic, it's expression, and in the body, it has to do with menopause. It has to do with your spleen, your lymph system, and your solar plexus. So all of the energy systems play together, and when you start to pay attention to what's going on in your body, when you start to pay attention to that stuff, it's really, really powerful. Then you have a tool where you can actually start to heal yourself. Now, I wish that just playing around in the energy field would have been enough, right? But it's not. I had surgery. I had 18 rounds of chemo. I actually had 3 surgeries, 18 rounds of chemo. I did everything that Western medicine had to offer. But I also did everything that I could find every place else. And that really takes us to the supplement part of what we're going to talk about. I know, I've been a life coach for a long time. I have been playing in this world for a long time. And I know that if I do not give my organism, if I don't give my body what my body needs to be able to do its job, I don't care how good your doctor is, I don't care how many times you take Reiki, I don't care how many therapists you go see, if you don't give your body the tools it needs to be able to do the job it's designed to do, you are not going to make it. That's just the way it is. So that's really how Shelley and I got partnered together. When we met and she was telling me about the isotonics, I have used a lot of different supplements in the last year, and I pay attention to what's on the cutting edge. And when she started talking about the different supplements, I paid attention and I did my research, and this has been the best group of supplements that I have seen, that I have used, that I have tried. So we have hundreds of products available. I could talk about that too for a really long time, but you really don't want to be here till midnight. So I'm going to talk about some of the ones that are most poignant for a lot of the problems that most people have. Omega-3s are a supplement that we use often for inflammation. It's a supplement that we use for blood pressure issues. It helps regulate the levels and the flow. It works well with your lungs and for vision and for heart health. It's good for eye lubrication and low light acuity, so if you struggle with glaucoma, stuff like that. It's great for joint health. It helps enhance the mood. It's a great supplement for your brain. It helps saturate your brain with the fatty acids that you need to be able to function. It's good for a healthy complexion. OPC3 is another one of our products. That's pycnogenol. It comes from the maritime tree bark, and which grows in France, and it's harvested. I want to say that it's harvested sustainably, which is important to me, because if we don't take care of our planet, it doesn't matter what else we do anyways, right? If we're not watching our pollinators, if we're not watching the bees, if we're not taking care of our trees, we're not going to be here then either. So we are part of a macrocosm that we really need to work together to deal with this. So OPC3 is a product that works well for allergies. It combats free radicals, which are the things that float around in our body and they make us rust from the inside out. It's an anti-inflammatory. It works with anti-inflammatories. It helps promote joint health. It supports cardiovascular health. It's good for vision health and visual acuity. It helps support your blood glucose levels. And these are things that I, as a cancer survivor, I struggle with stuff. Chemo, it messes your body up. It has created things in my body that nobody should have to go through. I have been relieved of so many things by starting to take this stuff. It has been amazing. We have a new product called Thimonol. Thimonol is a combination of OPC3, which I just talked about, and it's also, it has thymoquin, which is black cumin seed oil, and black cumin seed oil has been studied for a long time and really in depth recently. And the thing about OPC3 and thymoquin, and actually all of the products that we offer, when they are used together, they produce a synergistic effect where, yep, they're great alone, but they are better together, and they are better together exponentially, and that makes a huge difference. So thymoquin is an antioxidant. It helps promote healthy cellular aging, so as we age, right, the telomeres at the end of our body, they cleave off, and that's what causes us to go through the aging process. That's what causes wrinkles, it's what causes bone mass loss, it's what causes muscle deficiency. This helps with that. It works with the cardiovascular system. It helps support the endocrine system. It helps support the immune system. It helps with liver health. It's an anti-inflammatory. So this is an amazing product and when you take Thimonol, it also helps enhance any other supplements that you're taking along the journey or along the way. So it works not only in combination with itself, but with everything else that you're taking. We have a new product called cannabiquin. Now, cannabiquin is a product that you can only purchase by talking to a person who is an unfranchised owner. It's not something that you can purchase on the website. People know that there's a lot of study and a lot of information about hemp oil and the value of that. Well, cannabiquin takes Thimonol Plus and combines it with a full spectrum hemp oil. And again, to get that synergistic approach. It's an antioxidant. It works with memory, cognition, and attention. How many of us don't have challenges, right? We're pulled in 1,000 directions. How many of us don't struggle with that, where we walk out the door and go, oh, I forgot that, or we walk to another room and go, oh, I forgot that, right? It helps people build a healthy inflammatory response. It helps with gastric tone and comfort. It helps with cholesterol. It helps with blood glucose levels. It also helps with healthy weight. So if you're struggling with any of these things, the person who invited you to this event, talk to them. If you're watching online and you haven't been invited to this event, reach out to me and I will be happy to have a conversation with you about it. It also helps with cellular health and cellular function. And it also helps with bronchodilation. And I have to say that I have used a rescue inhaler for the last 12 years, and I have not, since I started taking our supplements, I haven't used a rescue inhaler once this summer, and I don't even take my allergy medicine anymore, which is a really big deal because I have been on a rescue inhaler for years. That's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
So Cannabicool is another product that we offer. This is another new product. Again, it's a hemp oil-based product, but it also includes lidocaine and aloe. It's a topical that you put on your skin, and it helps with inflammation, it helps with pain, it helps with itching, it helps with, it's got a cooling formula, and I know that Amy has a great testimonial about Cannabicool. Yeah, she does. Would you be willing to share that?
Well, part of it is with some of the health issues I have arthritis. And so I purchased it thinking, oh, I'll give it a try because, you know, it's new and I should try it. I have tried a ton of roll-ons to help with pain. And this one by far has helped me the most with dealing with my pain. And I can tell I've been on a lot of pain medication, but since I've been doing the supplements and then adding this, I have been able to stay off my pain medication.
Awesome.
Probably in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's huge. You know, it really is. So this is a great addition if you have any kind of aches or pains or arthritis.
I also hear that it works really good for construction workers and people who are doing a lot of physical labor, or if you're a weekend warrior and you do a lot of athletic stuff, it works great for that kind of stuff too. It also offers targeted relief on specific areas, which is really cool. And then the last product, I think this is the last product that I'm going to talk about, is Daily Essentials. And the Daily Essentials product actually incorporates a lot of the different products that I talked about. The first one is the OPC3, and just as a reminder, you know, that's cardiovascular, cholesterol, blood glucose, circulation, arteries, veins, joints, and overall joint health. It also includes Isotonics multivitamin. Now, Isotonics is when you take a supplement in an isotonic format, what that means is that it is at the same osmotic level as your body already processes things. So when it's brought into your body sees it and goes, oh, this is supposed to be here. So your cells go, oh, I'm gonna uptake this because I know what I'm supposed to do with it. As opposed to a pill. When you take a pill, it goes into your mouth and then it goes down the esophagus, it goes into your stomach where it's degraded by stomach acids, and it continues to degrade, and sometimes it sits in there for a really long time. So the efficacy of that is not very good. When you use an isotonic solution, those supplements are processed within, at 90 to 98% efficiency in your body, it's bioavailable, within 5 to 10 minutes. That's a big deal. So rather than waiting for your body to be able to process it, you get almost instant benefit from it. So the isotonic multivitamin is a blend of a lot of different vitamins, and it works for the immune system and for dietary deficiencies. And we know that the dietary condition of our planet, pardon the language, but it sucks, right? The way that we process food, you have to eat 9 bowls of spinach today to get the nutritional equivalent that you would get in 1950 if you ate 1 bowl of spinach. That is deplorable. So even if you're eating organic and you're eating healthy and you're eating homegrown, you still cannot get the supplements you need. So if you think that supplementation today is a luxury, I don't know. In my world, it's not. And because I'm looking at my mortality and going, yeah, I'm not messing with it. So one of the other products that are, there's Calcium Plus in there. Calcium Plus is good for skeletal health. It's enzyme regulation, hormone production, cardiovascular health, and calcium is a component that your cells need to be able to take in other supplements. You have to have calcium in your body to be able to take that in. So if you're taking a regular calcium pill, it's probably not enough because you have to have some kind of a cofactor to invite the supplement or the nutrients into the cells. Otherwise, it would be like swallowing a nail and hoping that you're going to be able to absorb the iron that you're getting from that nail. It just doesn't work that way. You have to have the calcium as a supplement. And then there's the isotonic activated B complexes, and that is good for energy production, healthy nervous system, bone marrow, intestinal tract, healthy serotonin levels, but B vitamins are really the mood vitamins. They're the ones that really help with that. So that's the Daily Essentials kit or packet. So we look at this and we're almost to the end. It's like you guys have been really great. We get to this point and say, well, what's the point of all of this? The point is you can't treat yourself as if you are a robot and just going to move through your life and be able to ping pong or hurricane or bounce off of the effects that have happened, the things that have happened to you in your life. They affect you. You can't pretend that they don't affect you. You can't walk fast enough and far enough to get away from who and what you are. The best way to deal with this stuff, if you have any health issues going on, the best way to deal with it is to really take the mind, body, spirit approach, to look at all aspects of it. Take a look at your history. If you have a physical health issue, let's go back and take a look and say, what might be in your history that's causing that? What can we do to help you support that? And then support your body. Even if you don't have a health issue, take care of yourself before you do, because you're going to get older, so give yourself the best opportunity you have to be who you can be. Align yourself with God's will and just give yourself the best chance to be who you are. And because you're here tonight, whether you're here on Facebook Live or you're here in the room, if whoever invited you, I would ask that you, if you have products that you want to order, you have things you want to order, I certainly know that I'm going to offer anybody who's been here who offer the time a 10% discount, and I think anybody else, whoever invited you, would also offer a 10% discount if you have products that you want to purchase, just as a thank you for being here. And the last thing I want to mention, if there's anything that I talked about today, especially with the supplements, if you're curious about how to integrate supplements into the work that you already do, I would invite you to come and take a look at this business. When Shelley and I talked, we talked about the supplements, and when she shared the business model and the business plan with me, one of the things, I work a lot with cancer survivors, and people who have had catastrophic health events don't have disposable income. And becoming an unfranchised owner and being able to sell the supplement, it allows me to do my life coaching for people, oftentimes at a very discounted rate, and many, many times for free, because I can support myself doing this work And then I'm free to be able to do the coaching, and I have the ability to share that information with other people, and I'm not tied to trading my time for money in that circumstance. So we have a couple of events that are coming up. This Saturday, if you're interested and want to know more about the business, Gary Rogers, who is an amazing man, he's going to be doing a seminar for us up in Green Bay. I know that there are tickets available. Tickets are $30, and you can certainly see me or whoever invited you here to, if you would like to come to that event. He is he's a very inspirational man, and he's been very successful in this business as well as other walks of his life. And then coming up in October, on October 19th, we have a district conference, and we have Amber Yang, who is an amazing woman who's going to be coming and sharing information about our business at that event too. So that is the close of my presentation. I hope that it wasn't too long for you, and I really appreciate your time and attention.